Hey, Roland Frasier here, and I want to share with you today some thoughts on how you can help your business to grow using digital marketing. I get a lot of questions about this, probably because Digital Marketer is one of the companies that I own, along with my business partners, Ryan Dice and Richard Lindner. And so we teach people how to do digital marketing all the time. The first question is, how does consistent branding help your business? Well, here's the deal, is if you think about the reason that there's two types of marketing that most companies do. One is called direct response marketing. This is when you're putting out content or an ad or something like that with the intent of having somebody look at it and do something. And so typically at the end of any of those kinds of messages, we have a thing called a CTA, which is a call to action. So a CTA is great, and it's cool because we can measure how much we spent on that ad, and then we can see how many sales came in as a result of it by using a unique phone number or a unique web URL, web address, or some other tracking. There's also pixeling that can be done, but ways to track how many people came in that saw that ad in that place that we ran it, that we paid for, and bought stuff. And then we can calculate something called ROAS, or return on ad spend, and find out, like, did it make sense to do that? Did enough people take the action that we wanted to actually have a profit? And the other kind of branding, the other kind of advertising is called branding advertising or branded advertising. And it differs from direct response ads in that with branded ads, you actually want just people to have the name of your company or brand or product top of mind. So you're putting out ads and you don't really intend for somebody to see that ad and go, oh, I'd like to have a Coke, or, oh, I'd really like to buy that thing. You, more than that, want them just to say, oh yeah, that's Coke. I like Coke. Or that's McDonald's. I know McDonald's, right? You don't typically run out when you see the ad and go, I need to eat at McDonald's right now. So the same is true for your products and services, that there are two kinds of things that you want to put out into the world. One, direct response. You definitely like that because it generates money. But in addition to that, branded advertising or branding can really build up value because it's something that's in people's mind. And then when they think that whenever they decide that they need a thing like you sell, then they're looking into their mind and saying, where am I going to get that thing? Oh, it's your product, right? It's the brand that I've seen. That's something I've seen a lot. It does a couple of things. Some of the advantages, it gives people not only top of mind, but it gives them confidence that that's something they've heard of. So it's a familiarity by seeing it over and over and over. It's something that gets into their mind, and they're like, when they're looking at 5 different products to choose from, whether on a shelf in a store or on an e-commerce site or wherever, and they 4 of them they've never heard of, and one of them they've been hearing ads regularly for, then they're most likely to take advantage of the one that they know. So know, like, and trust is something that we all consider when we're making a choice to buy something. So in addition to that, the loyalty or the reinforcement of loyalty from people that have maybe forgotten about the product, like maybe they purchased the product in the past, they used it, they liked it, but that's not something that they use regularly, monthly, weekly. It's not something they're regularly rebuying. But if it's something that they see over and over, it can make them feel better having bought the thing that they bought and reduce buyer's remorse. So that's another good benefit that you can get from branding. Those are the 3 biggest ones. Now, when you go to purchase a company or purchase an asset, if it's a brand that already exists, or if you're purchasing the brand itself. If it's a brand that already exists, then you may be able to take advantage of the brand equity or the brand awareness that people have from dollars that have been spent, or pounds or euro that have been spent on this thing in the past, to keep it in their mind and make it be something that they would want to buy, or apply that brand to a different type of product. So one of our friends, Ty Lopez, does this. He buys these things called zombie brands. So a company that goes out of business, like Pier 1 Imports in the United States, or Radio Shack, or Steinmart, these are all companies that they went bankrupt, and then he went out and acquired the brands. And so then he takes that brand name that somebody else has spent, some other company that just didn't make it, but they spent tens or hundreds of millions of dollars on that brand, getting it into the psyche of the potential customers, so people are all aware of that. And then he puts that brand on other products that weren't manufactured by that company, but now he has the brand and he puts it on his products. And one example that I heard about was that he was selling products on an e-commerce site, and they were generic products, and he was competing with other generic product companies. And then when he bought Radio Shack, he put Radio Shack branding on the products and was able to sell them for 2 to 4 times more. So that's a pretty significant and direct benefit that you can have from using a brand. So I think that being consistent with your brand message, therefore, is really, really important. And being consistent in also having branded ads, not just direct response ads. Another question that people ask is, how does customer interaction help with outreach? So the first thing is, you might say, well, what does somebody mean when they're asking that question? So outreach is, and I think it's really, when people ask that question, they're really thinking about reach. And reach means how many people are going to see your message. So online, we have reach as a statistic. And so when you're publishing content, you get reports back from the platforms that you're publishing the contents on that say your message reached this many people. Now, what's interesting is the longer that you advertise, the longer that you produce content and that you advertise, the greater the reach that you're likely to have. And reach can be something that is people who are seeing your initial thing that you send out. So a good example of that would be, say, a magazine subscription. So magazines will say they've got a reach of maybe 10 million people, even though they've got a subscribership of only 1 million. And that's because there are pass-alongs. And so the people get the magazines and they read them, and then they put them out on their coffee tables or in their offices, or they share them with friends, and they get passed around 10 times. And therefore the reach of that magazine is 10 times its subscribership. Similarly, on YouTube and TikTok and other social media platforms, we might have a reach that's significantly greater than the number of subscribers that we've got because other people are sharing. It might even be a reach that's greater than the number of views that we've got, because a lot of times in my household, my sons will say, hey, let's check it. We want to share this video with you. And there'll be 4 or 5 or 6 people in the room, and we'll pull it up on Apple TV, or they'll pass the telephone around and say, show it to them. And so then, even though it's only one view, there's 6 people or 8 people or 5 people or 4 people watching it. And so the reach of the video goes far beyond the view. So you've got to think about that when you're considering what is my reach versus, am I really getting my message out enough? And so looking at reach statistics can be very helpful, because a lot of times those are extrapolated and they are assuming, based on the stats of pass arounds, secondary views, multiple viewers, that kind of thing, how many people are actually being exposed to whatever content or message you've got. So that's something that you definitely want to think about. And the more viral, the more interesting, the more easily you make it for people to pass things along and share with other people, the greater your reach is going to be. So it's something that you definitely want to have in your mind when you're designing that kind of stuff. And the more that people interact with the content you have, this is the customer interaction part of that question, the more that people are interacting with it by liking it or sharing it with the share button, not just showing it to somebody on their screen, or even commenting, the more engaged the audience is considered to be by all of the powers that be that make a decision on how many more people are we going to show this to. And when they see a lot of interaction from your customers or your viewers or your subscribers, then they're more likely to open the floodgates and say, hey, this is something people are actually interested in, because look at the engagement here. And with that kind of engagement, then you're likely to get promoted into higher levels of reach. And that therefore means that more people will see your message and more people can take action on it. if nothing else, at least you will be more top of mind from a brand standpoint. So the next question I get a lot is, why is online marketing more affordable than traditional marketing? And is it more affordable? Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Traditional marketing, which we would consider advertising on the major media, which would be television, radio, and print. That's really what traditional media is generally considered. So what does it cost to reach people on television? Television's super expensive, and it's a shotgun blast because there's typically not a lot of data, at least traditionally. There's not been a lot of data about who's actually getting to see those messages. You know that if you advertise on a fishing show and you have a fishing product, it's a pretty good chance that the people who are watching the fishing show are going to be fisher people. At least they're either going to be people who fish or people who like fishing or people who know people who fish. Otherwise, they wouldn't be watching that show. But on a broader level, if somebody's watching Game of Thrones or something like that, and there was to be an ad that came up, then we have no idea, really. I mean, we can guess what kind of people watch that program based on some raw, rough demographic data that the platform might have, but we really don't know anything beyond that as to their specific interests. And because of privacy concerns, especially lately, you see Apple, Facebook, Google, all the big incumbent tech companies are increasing the level of privacy, which means that they're reducing the ability for advertisers to be able to target people directly based on specific interests. That's become considered a little too creepy, and people don't like that. So laws are making them move back, and then voluntarily they're also moving back on that. So one thing that becomes increasingly important in traditional marketing is to figure out who is watching the shows or listening to the radio or reading the publications that you're advertising in. Now, those prices have fallen a bit over time in terms of the rate at which they're increasing in cost, but that's largely because their readership, their viewership is falling off, their subscribers are falling off, and that's as a direct result of the competitiveness of the internet. Now, one thing that's really interesting is that a lot of radio and print and television shows are appearing online. And so they're showing up online in addition to being in those traditional channels. And the pricing can vary. But then we get to, how does online marketing compare in costs to that, and is it really cheaper? Because a lot of people say that it is. But the truth is that it can be much more expensive, depending on how drilled down you are into the audience you want. And again, with all the privacy changes, we're going from the ability to target people very, very specifically to where we're actually having to be much more general and advertise to broader audiences. So the line is kind of moving around right now. So I wouldn't say that I would expect to find cheaper online advertising and marketing opportunities than I would with traditional media. As a matter of fact, as television and radio move to demand-side platforms, meaning that you can go online and you can select the television shows and audiences that you want to have your ad exposed to, I think you're going to actually see more of this coming together as a very similar price across all these type of media, and the pricing will be more affected by consumption and quality of viewer or consumer or subscriber than it will be affected by the actual channel, whether it be online or otherwise. Okay, so what else are people asking about digital marketing? Why does digital marketing help with targeting your audience? This is something that is an ongoing challenge right now. And I've mentioned this in other videos, that I know people who were spending $500,000, $1 million, $2 million a month on ads on digital marketplaces or on digital platforms that now cannot spend that money. And they can't spend it anymore because of the changes that have happened in the ability to target people based on their the platform's ability to give you granularity of targeting. So where I used to be able to say, I want men between 18 and 24 who are gamers who make $150,000 a year and live in California, Texas, or Florida, which are three very, very good places to advertise. I can't say income anymore, and I might not be able to say gamer. I might not be able to say that I want them to have a job in a professional career, or have a college education, or even to be married, or to have children or not have children. I used to be able to pick all of that stuff, and that's really rapidly changing because of the privacy laws. So how effective we'll be able to target that kind of stuff going forward, I don't know. But what I do know is that if we can create a message that then allows people that come into our marketing world to self-select and give us information about them, then that becomes first-party data as opposed to third-party data, and we'll be able to use that. That's not yet heavily controlled unless it's medical or financial. So if we have an ad, let's say, that goes out online on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or wherever, and we're looking for people that are interested in building muscle, and we have a supplement company that helps build muscle, then we can put that ad out or content out about that. And when people click the ad, then we can pixel them, meaning that we can plant a little bit of code or give ourselves information about this person in our audience. And then that becomes first-party data for us. We now have that information about them. So we'll know that this is someone that we think is interested in our stuff. And we'll be able to retarget them, meaning that since they clicked on this ad about building muscle, we'll be able to go to the third-party platform and say, let's serve more ads to this person about building muscle. But we won't really know anything else about them unless, or at least not much, depending on the platform and the rules and the privacy at the time. But here's what we do know, is that if they click on that ad, and now we know that they were interested in that, so that's great. And maybe they opt in and give us their email in exchange for a free report or a free sample or more information, or to sign up to be on our list, or whatever it is that is the offer that we're putting out there. Well, now, once they've done that and they've come into our world on our site, we could say, hey, can we ask you a few questions, or take this quiz and find out if you're what kind of muscle builder you are, or what's the best muscle for you, or whatever. And when they do that, they're providing us with information that will then allow us to know a whole lot more about them, so that we'll be able to serve them the ads that will be most likely to appeal to them, and that they'll be most likely to act on and purchase, and then everybody wins. They get stuff that they're interested in, they don't get hit with a bunch of ads they don't care about, and they also get the opportunity to buy stuff that we make, or services that we provide that they'll enjoy. So that's really the advantage, and we can do this through a series of tags that we put on people who click on emails that go out. So once we've got that email, we can start sending them content. And then if we're smart, we're going to send them content that will tell us something about them. And so maybe we send an ad on how to build muscle with supplements, one on how to build it with cardiovascular activity and aerobics, one on how to do it with weightlifting and bodybuilding, and or for different purposes. Like, do you want to really bulk up, or do you just looking to get a little bit of tone? That kind of thing. So now the content that they consume, that they click on and that they read, or that they click through on, we will get the ability to track that information and data, and then that is tagged in our CRM, or our email system, our customer relationship manager. That's what CRM is. Then we can use that data to know what other content should we send. What are the emails that they're going to be most interested in? And then what are the offers that we should include in those emails that they will likely most be interested in? That helps us keep them in our fold with good content, and keep them opening things that are relevant to them, so that they open our emails. And then ever so often, generally it's every third to fourth one, we're going to send them an offer. And because we know the kind of content that they're consuming, then we'll be able to send them offers that matter. So that's really, like, we don't generally get that on television until we get them. Like, I don't know yet how we reach out in broadcast television to be able to say, hey, remember when you clicked on that ad, here's some more stuff. We're serving this ad to you because you clicked on that ad. Not yet that I'm aware of. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist in some super advanced thing right now. But that's really the big advantage of online versus offline. So with radio and print and television, those traditional media, you don't really know the specifics. And even when somebody interacts with your ads and responds, unless you can get them into your CRM system where you can tag them and get some more data, it's really hard to be able to re-access them with the things that are going to be most interesting to them and with the things that they're most likely to convert on, and therefore with the things that you can afford to pay the most to go out and reach them, because you know that the people that you're reaching are going to come back and spend X dollars or euros or whatever with you so that it's profitable. So that's really kind of an interesting thing. And then another question that I get asked a lot is, how can you utilize SEO, search engine optimization, and search rankings in your business? And here's how that works, basically. So generally, if you're searching for something online, then you put a search term in, and Google or Bing or Yandex or wherever you are is going to give you the search results. And what we generally want to do is, for whatever product or service we have, we want to do keyword research to identify who are the people and what are the search terms that people are using that are most likely to buy our products. And so you have to think about a few things here. You can think about how many of my customers are hot to buy exactly the product that I offer from me. These are people who are solution aware, meaning they're aware of the solution that my company provides, and they are problem aware, meaning that they're aware of the challenge that they've got, that's the change that they want, the transformation they're looking for, that causes them to consider, to want to buy my product, and they're also aware of my product. So that's very, very hot buyer. We really like those people. So the search words for that, if I've got a riding instruction company, a horseback riding instruction company, would be horseback riding lessons, San Diego, right? Or even better, pricing or coupons or discounts or specials or promotions for horseback riding lessons in San Diego. That would be a very specific customer that is ready to buy because they know they're looking for horseback riding lessons. They know that they want them in the locality that my horseback riding company is in San Diego, and they're looking for pricing, or they're looking for coupons or discounts or specials, and so that means they're very likely to do this immediately. So knowing now that those are keywords that are going to be very, very valuable to me to own, I'm going to pay more to bid on those keywords if I'm advertising, and if I'm creating content, which is SEO is generally not paid advertising. It's more about creating content that will rank. So at that point, I'm looking at how can I rank for those terms. I'm going to put out content that speaks directly to those terms, that is better than anybody else's content that's out there. And then I'm going to try to get links to that content. And there's several tools that you can use for that. There's SEMrush, SEMrush. SEMrush is one. Ahrefs is another. Those are two that I think are probably the most common. And then you can find out what types of questions are people asking that might be perfect for you as well, using a tool called Answer the Public at answerthepublic.com. So once we've got an idea of what these keywords are, we've done our keyword research, and Google has a very good keyword research mechanism within it too, within AdWords. So you can use that too. So once we get an idea of what the keywords are, then we know that it's time to create content. So the content that we're going to create needs to contain the keywords so that the search engine says, oh, this content is about that. And if it gets enough links and consumption of that content, then it's something that's going to be ranked higher, and that's going to be good. Now, that's all very well and good, but that's hard. And so a couple of shortcuts that I found to be super effective here. One is video versus blog. So versus text, thinking about video. When you create videos and you properly SEO them on YouTube, my experience is it's a lot easier to rank a video, and YouTube is the second largest search engine out there. So a lot of people don't know that. If I'm trying to do something quickly and get quick results, then I'm going to probably try to search engine optimize my videos on YouTube before I try to search engine optimize text for Google generally, right? So what's cool about that is videos can show up in Google. There is a whole tab of videos that you can search in Google, and it, coincidentally, a lot of those videos that come up happen to be YouTube, which is owned by Google. But what's also cool is that as your video gets successful, you can put links in the video to your text-based site as well, which can help that rank on Google faster. So there's a whole lot of that, more than we have time to cover here, but that's a really cool kind of hack to get up in the rankings faster. The second hack to do that is to look at who are the people, once you've done your keyword research, to go and put in the search engine that keyword and see who's already ranking in the top 5 spots for that keyword term. So in our case, I think it was horseback riding lessons, pricing and discounts, San Diego. So who's already got that? And how can I get that space that they've already got? The easiest way to do it is just to buy it. So you can go in and you can acquire their website. Now, obviously, they have to consent to that, so you're reaching out to them. But think about how long it took them to rank there. And a lot of people who have those rankings either don't know what they're worth, or they're not monetizing them, or their business just isn't that great, or they don't care about it, or they didn't even know because they just haven't to have been around forever putting out great content. And so you have the ability to potentially go in and acquire their already ranked websites and then instantly have the ranking. So that's a really fantastic way to do that. And that is some of the answers to your questions about digital marketing online.